All right. This is the first farmOS on-air hangout. We're going to be starting to do some monthly calls to kind of go over recent development and next steps. So yeah. My name is Mike Stenta. I'm the lead developer of farmOS, and I've been working on the project for about 1.5 years now. Although it kind of goes back farther than that. The official repository sort of started about 1.5 years ago. So yeah, we've got this agenda posted. I'm going to kind of jump back and forth between this and some screenshots and other things. I know some other people were going to join the call, so they might pop in soon. Yeah, so in terms of monthly call logistics, my thought is that, so I've been kind of working on new releases of the software on about a monthly schedule. So I figured that the monthly calls would be would kind of start after a release comes out, and we could talk about the things that that were accomplished in the previous release, and then sort of brainstorm what to work on for the next one. And, I'm kind of keeping roadmaps as we go. So you guys can kind of join in and see what the plan is and comment on it and that kind of thing. So I'll just jump over to screen share real quick on this side. Okay. So if you haven't been there already, farmOS.org is the homepage of the site and of the project. So this is kind of where you can go to get all the kinds of information about the project and various links to things. Some of the screenshots and documentation isn't quite up to date right now. There's been a lot of changes recently. So I'll be updating those as we move ahead. But yeah, I wanted to give kind of an introduction to the way that the farmOS issue queues work and how you can kind of join in the process of the development and discussion. So it looks like we've got some viewers coming in. I was expecting to be able to have people participate, but it seems like it's just viewers right now. This is my first time hosting a on-air hangout, so it might be a little bit buggy at first. If anyone's here and you can use the chat to let me know if you can see and hear all this and whether or not you're able to participate, maybe we can kind of figure out how to get you involved in the discussion so it's not just me talking. In the Hangouts, usually there's a chat button to the left. So if you move your mouse over to the left and click the chat up on top, it'll open up a chat window. I just typed hello into it myself, and you can see that. If not, I guess I'll probably just carry on alone and just kind of go over everything, and maybe next month we'll figure out how to get some participants involved. So yeah, farmOS.org is where you go for information about the project. This is also where you'll kind of find links to the actual downloads and the source code for the project itself. I've got a hack pad available right now. There's a link to it from the monthly call event. And it looks like RJ is typing into that right now. trying to figure out how to get people to participate. So let me jump over to that and we can maybe figure something out. Stand by. Hi, RJ. Can you see or hear me? Okay, great. Yeah, so I'm not sure how to get participants involved. This is the first time I've done the on-air. Okay, it's a video on the event page. Okay, great. Well, I guess that's halfway there. Let me just look through these settings real quick. Maybe there's a... I don't know if I should restart it or... Let's see. Well, it wouldn't be a video chat if there wasn't some issue, huh? Okay, hi Hunter. Maybe we'll just use this this hackpad as a chat room for now. Thanks. Okay, great. Well, I'll just go with this and kind of go through the agenda that I had in mind, and hopefully for next month we'll try to figure out how to do the actual participation stuff. So yeah, monthly call logistics I kind of went over, and introductions for anyone who's just joining. My name is Mike Stenta. We've got a couple of other people that I was hoping to have involved in the call, but I guess I set up the Hangout wrong. So next month. So monthly call logistics, I'm going to try to do this once a month. I've been trying to roll out new releases of farmOS monthly also. I'm working on it in my free time, so I kind of put together a roadmap and sort of try to do whatever I can, but I'm kind of cutting it off at the end of the month and calling it done at that point so that I can keep a steady release cycle kind of going. So whatever I can fit in the month in my own time working on the project, that's what'll be kind of included. So I'll show you where you can get to that kind of stuff and how you can sort of see that process. Yeah, so that ties kind of right into the next thing. So everything that all of the sort of task management and planning and stuff I'm doing in the Drupal.org issue queues. So if you're familiar, farmOS is built on Drupal, which is originally a content management system for building websites, but it's sort of evolving into a more generalized framework for building all kinds of things. So it provides us with a lot of flexibility, security, and a lot of just great things out of the box, like user management and roles and entity system and all kinds of things. So I won't get too far into that, but so yeah, on farmOS.org, this is a great place to start to go to kind of find things and get started. So, like I said, farmOS is built on Drupal. So there's actually a Drupal project on Drupal.org called Farm. So it's Drupal.org/project/farm. You can get to that from farmOS.org. And this sort of is the main project. So this is where the code repository is stored. It's also mirrored on GitHub. So it's github.com/farmOS. And this is a group on GitHub that contains a bunch of different projects that are all related to farmOS. So the main one is just called Farm. This is the Drupal installation profile. And the other ones are modules that are included with that. So getting back to the Drupal project page, this is where I'm linking to the current roadmaps that I'm working towards. So right now I've kind of got a short-term roadmap and a medium-term roadmap. The short-term is sort of for these numbered beta releases that I'm putting out. So right now we're on 1.0-beta 6. And the longer or the medium term is the 1.0 release. So that would be kind of a more polished and ready to go thing. I don't really have a concrete idea of what 1.0 really will be. So that'll kind of evolve as we get through it and yeah, go from there. So like I said, you can get to the beta 6 roadmap here. And so these are some of the tasks that I just have on my list that I'd like to start working on towards for the beta 6. But you can also go kind of back in time and see what the other betas were for, because I'll always be cloning these issues off of the previous one. So you can go down here and see the parent issue is beta 5, so I'll open that in a new window. And as I'm going through, I'll mark the tests that I'm still getting crossed off on the list. Go into each one of these little comments on the roadmap and stuff as things change. So you can really see, take part in the discussion process. So let's see, on the okay, let's see if I can show this again. So this is the, oops. Okay, so here's the monthly call agenda again with the with the impromptu chat going on. Sorry, guys. So yeah, that's where was I? Intro to farmOS issue queues. So yeah, the farmOS, the Drupal.org issue queues is where I'm kind of doing all the feature requests and stuff like that. So if you want to, if you find a bug or you want to request a feature, you would go to drupal.org/project/farm. And if you click on this over here, the open issues, you'll kind of see a list of issues and feature requests and bug reports here. Now this technically is just for the farm distribution project. There's a bunch of other modules and projects that are included in farmOS, which you can actually get to from the same page over here, like farm admin, area, asset, crop, equipment. These are all their own repositories, and they each have their own issue queues too. So you can go in here and actually, drill down to different modules and issue queues for each. I should be showing this other screen. Sorry. Okay, so this is the drupal.org/project/farm page, and here's links to all the other projects. So you can go in and get to the issue queues for each, and here's the issue queue for farmOS itself. So this is where I'm putting roadmaps, and if you have a request or something, even if you're not sure what project it should be part of, just come in here and say create a new issue and describe what you want. And even if you don't put it in the right project, I'll just reorganize it myself for my own organization's sake. So yeah, getting to the next step, I just wanted to recap a little bit on what was done in beta 5, and then maybe we can talk about beta 6. And I guess it'll be kind of a short call because I didn't set up the Hangout correctly to have participants. So we'll just roll with it and fix it next month. So yeah, in beta 5 we did a bunch of things. There was a lot of user interface improvements, some open layers and mapping things. I added a concept for inactive assets, so things like plantings and animals that are no longer active, like for example last year's cabbage or something. Now you can mark them as inactive so they won't show up in your current list, so you can kind of keep things a little bit cleaner. We also added the REST WS, the REST Web Services module. So what this actually does is opens up the the systems to REST API calls. So you can actually do things like this and get JSON exports of certain assets or lists of assets and logs and taxonomy terms. There's a little bit more to do. That's really useful, but it's a start down that path. Fix some bugs, and there's a couple of other bugs that are sort of still open. I moved those to the Drupal or to the beta 6 roadmap. So getting back to some of the user interface stuff, one of the cool things, I'll show you this, that was added in this release has to do with the way that assets are referenced in logs. So for example, I'll go into this one and I'll add an activity. So I'll say, fed chickens. So previously, when you wanted to reference a certain asset, you had to kind of type it in, and it would sort of autocomplete and show you available assets that were in your system, and you select them, and it would be kind of like a tagging, almost a free tagging. You'd have to do comma separated. And on a mobile device, that was really difficult to use. It frustrated me for a while. So I did some research and found a module called the Entity Reference View widget, which provides kind of a widget for finding entities to be referenced. That's a lot of like Drupal speak, but basically it just means that you get something like this. So I can click Add Items, and then that'll open up this view of various assets that are in my system, and I can filter down to a certain type. So I can say, filter down to animals, and then I can see, some chickens. So I'll just say these guys, and submit. And now those are referenced on this log, so it's just a lot easier to use that. I'll say that. What else? Oh yeah, so I moved the farm menu, the main menu of the farm items. So if we go back to the home page, previously the whole menu was kind of along these tabs right here, where now it says activities, movements. And that was just getting a little out of control on mobile devices. So we moved those up to the primary links. So now they're up here, and that works a lot better on mobile because when the screen shrinks down, this will turn into a little hamburger button. See if I can try to make that happen right here. Oops, I guess I lost that window when I did that. Oh well. Well, anyways, that it just makes it a lot easier to use this kind of thing on a mobile device. That was a lot of the user interface improvements. The other thing is now the map is being displayed in a 2-column layout again. If you've been using farmOS for a while, you may remember that it used to be like that. Then some things changed, and it was just easier to make it a 1-column. So I went back to 2-column for now, so you can see your plan on the right and your map on the left. And that'll change on a mobile device so that the plan gets knocked down below. Oh yeah, so I also added a new view called All Logs. So now when you get to your farm dashboard, instead of seeing farm areas, plantings, animals, equipment, sensors right here, those are moved up here, and the sub-tabs move up to the main level. So it's now farm activities, movements, observations. And this is one called All Logs. So activities, movements, and observations are the default logs that kind of called the farm log module, and those can be applied to all different assets. So you can record your activities, movements, and observations of those things. Just a little other info there. Specific asset types like plantings and animals have their own log types in addition to activities, observations, and movements. So if you actually go there, you can see there's also harvests, inputs, seedings, transplantings, and we'll probably keep adding more. And the same thing will be true of animals too. Right now, animals only has the 3 default, but we're going to be adding a lot more to that. And equipment has maintenance, but we're going to be adding some more to those too. So yeah, this new one is all logs. So this is just another way to kind of get to the information you're trying to find. So you can filter and sort by log type, so you can see all the different types of logs that are here: harvests and postings, transplantings, maintenance, soil tests. Some of these are in development, so they're not really available yet, but the rest are activity, movement, observations. So this just shows you like a full list of every log that you've recorded. So it's just one more way to get to what you need. Oh, the map knitter integration was a big deal. So what that actually provides, and I can't show it in this site, but I hope Dorn doesn't mind if I show it in his. So map knitter integration gave us the ability to, and I'll just show you, the folks over at Public Lab have this great service called Map Knitter, which basically allows you to take aerial photographs that you kind of create yourself using balloons or drones, and then you can knit them together into an aerial, one big aerial map that you can so you kind of see what that looks like. So that's always been available. But now we've got a farmOS map knitter module that allows you to include that layer in your farmOS. So this is Dorn's map, and so this is actually this map layer. It's assembled and it's included now in farmOS. So that appears as one of the layers here. So I can turn it off and on, and you can kind of see how cool that is. So if you're into drones, or you've got a weather balloon, you can go take your own pictures and assemble it together with Map Knitter. And setting it up in farmOS is pretty simple. All you do is go to the configuration. Right now it's in /farm/map knitter, but I'll probably be moving that to like an easier spot. And yeah, you just give it a name and you type in the map knitter slug. So the slug is what you would get from I think it's just mapknitter.org/map/tuckawayfarm. So this is the map knitter site, and that's so you kind of just copy the slug from there and paste it into your site, and the module will do the rest, and you'll end up with a cool layer right there. So right now you can only include one, but it wouldn't be too difficult to add to expand that module to be able to include more than one. Okay, let's see what else. So I'm going to have to, I guess, answer some of these questions afterwards. Thanks, folks, for just listening to the hack edits. I think that's a good way to handle the misconfigured Hangout that I've set up here. So yeah, I'll try to get back to in the hackpad directly, and we can try to figure out how to get you all participating next time. So beta 5 is done, and now next up is the beta 6 release. So here's the roadmap for that. And most of the stuff here I haven't really, I just kind of copied over stuff that I didn't finish from the beta 5 into the beta 6. And that's sort of how I'm rolling with these. I'll have things on my list that I want to do, and other people will suggest things that they want. So I'll kind of just have a rolling list. And then there's a bunch of other stuff in the sort of pool of feature requests that can get integrated in later too. But this is just some of the things that are there right now. So maybe I'll just run through some of these real quick and to let you know what I'd like to work on. I actually don't have, I was hoping to have more discussion in this call because I have a lot more things in like my notebook and some other to-do lists that I haven't translated into tasks and put into the roadmap yet. So I was hoping to talk about some of those, but we might just have to wait until next call to do that. So for beta 6 right now on the roadmap, and again, feel free if you guys want, come into Drupal.org and go to the roadmap node and comment in here. So if you have specific things you want to talk about, or we can either focus those things into specific issues, like specific Drupal.org issue nodes, or if it's more generally about the beta 6 release itself, we can do it right in this beta 6 roadmap. So yeah, feel free to chime in and we can go from there. Next month we'll get the hangout. So right now on the list, I've got some stuff regarding areas. So one of the things I want to be able to do is kind of show assets that are in child areas. So the way that kind of works right now is, if I have an area within an area, and say, I have a bunch of chickens in a paddock that's in the upper garden, which is a field. If I click on upper garden, it's not going to show me the chickens that are in the paddock, because it only shows assets that are in the upper garden. So this is the upper garden. So right now I know that I have chickens there, but they're in a paddock, but they don't show up animals for the upper garden. So one thing I'd like to do maybe is have it show sub assets, or assets that are in sub areas. That's one thing. Likewise, showing child areas in the parent area map. So when I click on upper garden, I want to be able to see the areas that are in that area too. So that's a task that's been around for a little bit. Cloud areas excluded. I won't go through all these because some of it's kind of boring, and I'll just try to touch on the major ones. So one of the big ones that I've been talking with Dorn about is the sort of we need to expand the ability to have various types of roles in the system. So Drupal, has a great system for managing roles and users and permissions. So you can kind of have fine-grained permissions for each feature in the site. And farmOS does a lot of that by leverages a lot of that by providing one role currently called Farm Manager. And that just kind of gives you access to all of the farm features, but it's sort of an all or nothing kind of thing. I mean, it's the farm manager, so they're like the administrator of the farm. So what we want to start doing is adding some more roles that have slightly more restrictive permissions. Some of the ideas that have been kicking around would involve, roles for maybe farm workers to be able to access certain things, but not other things. Also, being able to kind of grant access to researchers or soil labs or consultants who may want to be able to come in and see what you're working on your farm and see kind of your logs in your areas. But they don't need to be able to change things, and you might want to restrict them from certain things. So that could be another use case for having different roles. So that's sort of the bigger feature, or the sort of bigger idea around this this task. This task here is mainly just kind of giving the farm managers the ability to add users and administer them, but it sort of ties in with a lot of the role, future role discussion stuff. So there's a lot of possibility there. Oh yeah, so then in beta, what was it, beta 4, we upgraded to OpenLayers 3, which was really nice. It gives us a lot of new capabilities, and it was rewritten. The module was rewritten from scratch by Paul, who's the maintainer of the OpenLayers module on Drupal.org. Some of the things during that transition, it was kind of a big transition, so I had to rewrite a lot of the mapping code that farmOS was doing so that it would work on the new OpenLayers. And we lost a couple of things in that transition. So some of the things I want to get back are like the ability to have full screen maps. Not a big deal, but it'd be nice to get that back. And if you actually click into these, you can see why they're not working and what's left to do. A lot of them are pretty simple. So they just need a little bit of time to kind of iron out the bug and get it working again. We used to have 3 different base layers that you could switch between. You could have Google Maps satellite, Google Maps hybrid, which also includes roads and labels and stuff, and then Google Maps terrain, which is kind of a nice topological map. Unfortunately, there's a bug right now in the OpenLayers module that if you have more than one Google Map base layer, the whole map breaks. So I decided to just, I tried debugging it for a while, but I really wanted to get the release out. So I went with just defaulting to the hybrid map for now. So we're using that mainly. But I would like to get terrain and satellite working again. And we can also talk about adding some other maps that people want, like the MapQuest and OpenStreetMap. I found that so far, at least in the areas that I've looked at, the Google Maps seem to be the best and most up to date. So that's kind of why I went with it. But the OpenLayers module is really flexible, and you can really pull in layers and tiles from a lot of different sources. So it doesn't really matter, and you can kind of choose. Oh yeah, this is another thing, the orange tiles. So you used to click on again, like for example, if I click on this, it used to turn orange when you clicked on it. Now it doesn't do that anymore. Oh well. Minor. This is something that I'm really excited about. Super simple thing, but would provides a lot of usefulness. The ability to just calculate the total area of a polygon. So when you're creating, I'll actually click into that because I can show you something. So OpenLayers 3 library, how do you do this? Here's an example on the openlayers.org site where you can create, I can create an area and it will tell me the actual area as I'm drawing on it. So, the next logical step would be to include that in farmOS so that you can have an idea of acreage and area sizes and things like that. Right now, it's all in the JavaScript layer with OpenLayers 3. So what we would want to do to really make that a complete solution is to add a little bit of code to kind of, as you're drawing it in the JavaScript, pull that into the entity itself and store it on a field so that you've got that. And then you can modify that field too if you think that the measurement is wrong. Because sometimes map projections can be can throw things off and not be entirely accurate. So having the ability to just kind of get an estimate with the map tool, but then adjusting it accordingly afterwards, I think would be ideal. Okay, so then, this one's already done. I added a files field to activity logs. Another simple thing. So, when you're creating an activity, you used to be able to you can add photos and that kind of thing, but file fields were only on other logs. They weren't really available. And I needed that recently, so I just added it. So now you can have, or you will, in beta 6, you'll be able to have file fields on activities. Okay, jumping back to the OpenLayers and mapping stuff, one of the big things that I've been thinking a lot about, and a lot more about, is sort of the idea of temporary, so with our discussion, it sort of started with the idea of temporary paddocks. So he and I both have animals that we will graze and rotate through different areas. And the fencing itself is mobile, so the paddock is not stationary. It's kind of always changing. And so, in my little system here, these green boxes are the paddocks. And this is kind of how I have it set up, where I just sort of create them all and then rotate into them on a regular basis. But you can kind of see, like, sometimes you need these weird shaped ones, or it's like odd, and then you end up with all these green boxes. So it's not ideal. And I'm starting to put some thought into how best to kind of approach that. So the name of this task is actually geofield plantings, but there's actually a number of different tasks. They're all kind of related to the same idea, which are all kind of coalescing at the same time in my head. And if anyone has any thoughts on these kind of things, I'd love to do. I mean, I feel like I could do a brainstorm just on this topic alone. But I've got some good ideas, and I might actually not, despite the name of this task, I might not actually put a geofield on plantings and paddocks. My current thinking is that maybe what we need is a geofield on the movement log itself, so that as you're creating a movement, you can just draw out, the area on the fly of where that movement is taking place, or you can say it's at a stationary area. So I'm still kind of thinking through the ramifications of that, and if that would meet all of the needs without adding too much complexity, because there is some complexity involved with that. But that's sort of where I'm headed with it right now, and I'd love to get that done for beta 6. I need to give it a little bit more thought and kind of figure out what makes the most sense. But yeah, so the reason I created geofield on plantings task was kind of this idea here that your rows and beds from year to year are going to change a lot. The fields might be the same, but the actual areas that plantings are located in, it's kind of hard to manage if you've got like hundreds of rows, and you don't necessarily want to have stationary or fixed areas for each one of those. So the idea here would be to have a separate geofield that you define as you're creating your planting. So that planting would specifically be located in that kind of excuse me area. And so it's sort of, it's the same idea as putting it on movements, though. So I think I'm kind of leaning more towards doing it on the movements. But again, I kind of need to think it through and make sure that it's excuse me, that it's going to work. The main I think trick to that will be things like, for example, if I go to animals and say Betty. So Betty's current location is Lower Garden Chicken Paddock 2, and that's a specific area in the system. Now, if I create a movement and the movement log has a geofield on it where I define like a dynamic spot that she's in, but it's not an actual area, then I need to figure out, what is it going to say here in current location, and how does that affect, how that shows up in other spots. So there are some considerations involved with that. One possibility would be to sort of do the math and figure out, okay, well, what this geofield that I just drew that represents Betty's location, how does that actually overlap with other areas, which works in theory, but I could see getting pretty complicated too if you've got lots of overlapping areas. So these are the kinds of things that I'm thinking about, and if anyone has any thoughts and wants to chime in, feel free. Let's see. So I think that's pretty much what I have on the beta 6 now. But again, like this is going to change a lot. This beta 6 is not fixed. It's just whatever I can get done this month. So it varies wildly depending on my own, work schedule and that kind of stuff. But yeah, if anyone is a Drupal developer, or not, or if you're, if you just want to take part in kind of some of the the discussion and ideas, feel free to join in on the issue queues and stuff like that. So I was going to do a Q&A at the end here. I guess it's kind of the end here. I'm going to jump back over to this one, the monthly call, because it looks like you guys have been talking a lot. Sorry, I didn't look at any of this. So, I mean, maybe we could do some Q&A on here. Let's see. Okay, yep, I see. I see some ideas. Geofields for plantings, sensor locations, sensors notable. Yeah, okay, so regarding sensors, sensors actually are an asset type right now. That's here, I can show you. I think right now my site is the only one that has the sensor module installed. But yeah, sensors are assets, and therefore they can be in locations. So they can also, right now I don't think they can be associated with other assets, but that was one idea that came up before, and I see that someone mentioned that also. Dorn, maybe? So yeah, they can be associated with areas right now. They can't really be associated with other assets. But one of the, and that kind of brings up another thing that's been on my mind a lot, is that I think that areas are eventually going to become assets themselves. Right now, areas are technically a taxonomy term in the system. Yeah, there's a lot of considerations with that, and there is actually, I think I can get to. I've been kind of talking through some of those ideas, mainly with myself in the issue queue. So if you go to the farm area module, let's see. Yeah, make area into a type of farm asset. So there's a bunch of brainstorming that I've been doing in there. And actually even some more that I don't think I've copied over here. So I'm going to try to be really good about putting all my thoughts into these things so they're up to date. Okay, let's see. I'll look at these a little bit more, and then we can maybe call it a night. Okay, so yeah, Beta 6 does have the sensor module already. The thing is that so the sensor module right now is kind of simple, but it requires, well, it doesn't really require, but it can't really do anything unless you also have a sub module that uses it. So I have some Raspberry Pi sensors that I've set up in my house, and they're running a software that I wrote called AtmosPi. So I just, as a proof of concept, I made a let's see, drupal.org/ project farm sensor AtmosPi. So this is sort of the proof of concept of how. Oops, that didn't work. Oh wait, I think it's only on GitHub, which is also where AtmosPi is if you're interested. Yeah, so this is just kind of a module that ties my AtmosPi stuff into farmOS. So I can go in here and click on oh, actually this might not work because I just changed some things, but oh yeah, no, that works. So this is just loading up the sensor, the page from my AtmosPi. Browser's going a little slow here, so. And this is just an iframe that's sticking this thing in. But anyway, so if we want to, so one of the things that we've been talking about with RJ and the Open Pipe Kit project is to create basically either create a farm sensor OPK module, which would sort of maybe be unique to OPK, or we might just add some stuff to the sensor module itself to be able to accept data sort of streamed from other places. So, oops. RJ, I think you just said you can't see my screen. Sorry, here, I'll switch over to that. Thanks. Okay, so this is the Atmos Pi being just sort of embedded into the page. So this is just like some temperature and humidity readings from my house. Right? Pretty hot here. So okay, what else is there? Beta switch filters. Oh yeah, great. So RJ just posted a link to OpenPipeKit on the agenda, so if anyone's interested. Also discussion comes with log type to track farmOS comments and conversations. Oh, okay. So I'm still new to HackPad a little bit. I'm not sure who wrote that, but I think that is about. Here, let me switch back to that screen now. Thanks everyone for being patient with my Hangout on-air skills and lack thereof. Okay, so someone asked, discussion of conversations as a log type to track farmOS comments and conversations. So I'm not sure if that means in farmOS, like if you want to discuss like fields, or like if you're kind of brainstorming stuff with other farmers about things. That was one idea that came up, was to include some discussion aspects inside farmOS itself, so that if you guys are if you and your farmers are kind of figuring out what you want to do for next season, it gives you some discussion capabilities. And that probably wouldn't be too hard to add, just using Drupal's core comment module, because comments in Drupal 7 can be applied to any entity type. So we could have comments on farm assets, we could have comments on logs themselves. So yeah, I think that's definitely something to experiment with. It probably would not be too difficult. The only consideration might be, how it looks in the system, and I'm sure there's other considerations. Maybe we should start a feature request to actually start talking through some of that stuff. Oh yeah, okay. So the Data Explorer from PhotoSync. So PhotoSync is a cool project. I can go get that open. It's a device that allows you to essentially take measurements of plant health and kind of record that information in photosync.org itself. So we're kind of working with the folks who are building PhotoSync and trying to figure out a way to tie that into farmOS, so that you can kind of have that data accessible from within farmOS. So I think there's a lot of possibilities and potential there too. Yeah, so collaboration and integration is sort of one of the focuses that we're talking with a lot of different groups who are working on similar projects, and just trying to put our heads together to build things that can work together and yeah, just be really awesome. MapKnitter, I think, is a great example of that, working with the folks at Public Lab. And the Farm Sensor and OpenPipeKit stuff is coming up soon, I think. Yeah, lots of stuff. Also, so I see someone asked about inactive. So yes, I think I kind of answered that question already, but basically having the ability to make assets inactive is kind of a first step towards handling death, animal mortality, plantings that are no longer in the ground, or that have already been harvested and turned under. Eventually, we'll probably add specific log types for animals, specifically for DAP or those kind of things. And that would probably just automatically connect to that active inactive checkbox to make it inactive. But you would still have like a log to indicate when that happened and other details and notes and stuff. Because right now the active inactive is just a checkbox. But a lot of that stuff, those kind of we're going to be adding a lot of new log types over time that will have specific purposes. But in the meantime, I would just recommend that you can still record a lot of the stuff you need to record just using the existing log types like activities, observations, and movements. So once the new features come out and new log types are available, that'll add to the functionality, and you'll kind of be able to do more with it, but you'll still kind of have the records of the other things if you're keeping them in activities and observations. Yeah, so that's that. So yeah, we're at like 5 of 8 now. I think I'm gonna call it a night, and I'll organize another one of these, and I'll try to, if anyone is not on the newsletter, I'll probably announce the next call on the newsletter. So if you go to farmOS.com, there's a newsletter sign up field right there. I'll also post it. It'll be through the Google Plus Hangout, so it'll be on there too. And I'll create another one of these hack pads for the agenda and discussion. And hopefully we can actually get some people participating. If anyone's done this before and wants to contact me afterwards, tell me how to actually set it up, I would love that. All right, well, I guess good night, and thanks for joining and listening to me talk for an hour. I'm looking forward to continuing and growing farmOS into something that can be really useful for everyone. Well, thanks again. I'll talk to you all later. Have a good night.